Okay, cool. So welcome to the community panel. Basically, we're gonna be discussing what's happening in the region, what happened in the last few years, last few months, and also what to expect in the future. And basically, today with me, they're going to be Hossein Ben Amor, and he's basically an active member of the Tunisian and the MENA region game development community. He's the co-founder and president of the Tunisian Game Development Business Development Manager at New Carthage, and regional coordinator as the IGDA. Uh, we also have Nurhan Sharif, which is a senior game developer. She graduated in the Faculty of Computer and Information in 2013, and she completed the ITI Game Development 9 months program. She had an experience working with several studios on several mobile games till joining Instinct Games in 2016, and she's been working as an Unreal Engine developer ever since. And the science project, she started Indie Games Corner in late 2016, a blog for spreading awareness about the indie game scene in Egypt. And finally, we have Yusuf Bouhaza, which is the person who started the Unreal Engine community in Bahrain, Unreal Bahrain. And there's also me, which I briefly introduced myself in the previous presentation, but very quickly, I'm a technical evangelist for Epic Games, and I'm also one of the organizers at gamedev, the Lebanese game developer community. My background is more in Unreal Engine, worked on VR projects and photogrammetry for cultural representation, cultural heritage preservation, and I also teach game development. All right, so let's get started, and I think if we can maybe do like a circle where each community organizer can briefly talk about their community, introduce it, and also probably mention like what have you been working on in the past. So Yusuf, would you like to start?
Yeah, so glad to be on this panel, and يعطيكم العافية, basically the game tech organizers, and you, Joseph, for organizing this panel. So a little bit about Unreal Bahrain. Sorry, I'm figuring this out, so how can I share my screen?
There is a share button if you at the bottom, like there's a bar.
Okay. Okay. So a little bit about Unreal Bahrain. Basically, it's a community-based group that started back in 2017. The main intention was that we wanted to create a game engine, an Unreal Engine community in Bahrain to help and support each other. But down the line, we went into a different path. We started basically looking into ways to actually increase our involvement and engagement. So we started organizing meetups, game jams. We offered around lots of free workshops. We were able to train over 660 people on game development over the past 4 years for free. We have a lot of partners in Bahrain, so we were able to get a lot of game developers to get to events like Comic-Con, IGN, and Bahrain for free. And luckily enough, things are picking up. The public sector, the private sector, and even the non-profit sector is really excited about what we're doing, and they're trying to see more, and we're trying to offer more. That's it.
All right. Can you talk a bit maybe about some of the events you organized recently?
So recently, it would be best going backwards. So the last event that we organized is the Global Game Jam in Bahrain. Before that, there was the Bahrain Game Jam. Before that, there was the Paris to Manama event, which is basically, it was an online VR platform for VR products in Bahrain. Other than that, meetups, monthly challenges, and so on and so forth. The monthly challenges is an interesting concept that we've been working on. Basically, we introduce monthly challenges to the community so they can participate in it. And it's not about only giving providing video games to the challenge. It's also about providing art, music, video entries. Joseph, I sent you the video last time about the guy that was battling COVID. How did you find it?
Well, okay, so I found it hilarious, for the record. I mean, which sounds really weird when you say, "Oh, a guy battling COVID," and that's out of context. Maybe you should mention that the guy is actually fighting, street fighting COVID.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll send the link over so people can actually view it. Or maybe if we have time, we'll just play it around and have fun.
Yeah. All right. Shall I pass the torch to Nurhan?
Yep.
Okay. So, Nurhan, if you can briefly introduce your community and also talk about events you've done in the past.
Sure. So I'm a community manager at Egypt Game Developers. We're currently more of an online community ever since the COVID breakout. We have been organizing monthly meetups and Ask Me Anything panels. We have been sort of hosting several popular entities in these gaming scenes, so they could pass on their experience or advice to the people who are new to the community or new to game development in Egypt. We also have been organizing monthly art jams, which since we have sort of a gap between artists and developers in Egypt, we have been trying to enhance. We've been trying to enhance having more artists on the field by hosting online monthly art jams, which basically there is a theme that the artists have to follow, and they have the entire month where they can blast their creativity through. And we also have been trying to offer some online workshops. Basically, they have been more of design workshops up to now, by also popular or Egyptians working abroad, so they would pass their experience to who doesn't have enough access, or since the scene is very, very small, or it's not as huge or big as it is abroad. We're trying to make the experience abroad made accessible locally. So that's like a general overview of what we do at Egypt Game Developers. And as part of Indie Games Corner, there's an initiative that I have started since 2019 called Indie Game a Month. Since there is this huge cultural gap, or gamers in the local scene doesn't really know much about indie games. They only have certain ideas or stereotypical ideas about what games should be, and it's mainly AAA games. I've started Indie Game a Month as sort of a way to reduce that gap between AAA games and indie games for the gamers. And it has actually been quite a help for the gamers during the COVID lockdown, because since there wasn't enough interaction with other people or the outside world, we have been able to gather every month and discuss that indie game. I think I forgot to mention what Indie Game a Month is. It's basically we play a game and we pick up an indie game and we play it throughout the month, and by the end of the month we discuss that game. It's sort of like a book club, a really small book club. And actually for August, we as members and organizers have agreed that we should try to make it a local community support month, where we'll be playing games that have been made and published locally. And we have been trying to, throughout June and July, we have been trying to curate games that would love to have some exposure in the local community, and tell gamers that we're here, we're making games, So that's an overview.
All right. So can you just mention when can people sign up for their game or submit a game as well if they want to know more?
Sure. There's a Google form that we have made. I can add the link right after the panel. Anyone who has any published game on any platform can sign up. And no pressure. If you just want people to play games without actually discussing it or rating it at the end of the month, that's okay. Usually people like to, like we like to dissect books and say, this part was actually good, but this part sort of was a bit of a letdown. We sort of dissect games in a book kind of way. But no pressure. If you just want us to play your game, that's okay too.
Right. Thank you. So, Hossein, want to do things?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. For our community as a Tunisian game developers, we created an association back in 2011. The reason it was to gather the community and promote the game industry in Tunisia, because no one heard about game development before. When they hear games, they think about only people who are playing, and it's not a job or you can generate money from this industry. They are thinking about us as kids just playing. So it was hard back in the time, but we did it later. So at the start in 2012, we did a small event, kind of a showcase of games, in order to see how many people are interested in this field, and also to put some spotlights on their games. Uh, it was a kind of a diagnostic of the scene, to see what is happening there exactly, and how we should start developing the community. After that, we organized a lot of events like the Global Game Jam. We started 2013, and then after that, each year we did it. Then the Global Game Jam next for kids, and also Game Zanga. At the same time, we did a lot of workshops in different universities, so we can attract more people into the game industry. Also, we did a Tunisian Game Awards, is to gather all the games together and to give more motivation to people to create games, etc. Otherwise, we participated in many international events like Arabic Game Jam. Back in the time, it was organized many times in Malmo, Sweden, at the same period of the Nordic Game Conference. Also, MENA Games, it was in Beirut, Dubai Game Conference, and many other events. Actually, also we convinced the government to create a creative digital lab for developers. It's kind of a space full of equipment, etc. So the developers can meet and work together in the same place. It's like a meeting point, let's say. Yeah, that's it. If possible, Joseph, I can share a video, 2 minutes video, quickly.
Yes, please. Can you skim through it though, because I think 2 minutes might be a bit too long for the panel.
So actually here, in the most of our events, we are trying to gather the cosplayers, the esports people, and also YouTubers with the game developers, because we believe that will help a lot the game developers to make marketing and to show their games, to get feedback from YouTubers and all these complementary communities. Also, as a developer, when you will launch a game or you need a beta tester, you will find these people from those communities, cosplayers or esports players, etc. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so for the link for submission for Indie Game a Month, I just send it in the comments, so it should appear now as a banner in a moment. So yeah, if anyone wants to submit their games to Norhan's initiative, you're gonna find it. It's gonna, not this link, another one is gonna show up. Okay, so I'm gonna introduce briefly my community, which is the Lebanese game developer. I'm also gonna share my screen. So 1 second. Let's see. Okay. 1 second. Yep. So, first of all, just want to quickly show some of the events we did before COVID started. That was a fun time. We actually were really, really active. At first, we were not sure what we were doing, so just doing everything that comes to mind. And we participated in every event. We participated in Showcase because it was essential for the community to showcase their games. So we collaborated with a lot of local conferences happening. We did game jams. We even did a game jam during the revolution, which is cool. So people are protesting in the background, we're showing games. We participated in conferences. We brought people from abroad to give workshops. So whether it was Jason Delaroca, Celia Holden for UX, yeah, and of course, lots of game jams. We tried to do a party. That was great. We were trying to make as a community, basically fundraiser. We wanted to show some of this. So these are some of the games being made in the community. And yeah, of course, we're more like, it's a lot of like friends. So every time you go there, it's like, yeah, I'm going to hang out with cool people. And that was great, until, of course, COVID happened. And it pushed us to think a bit differently. So we were like, okay, the community, those events, they had this advantage that they introduced a lot of new members to our community. So we had our Discord and we had our WhatsApp groups, and that became self-sustainable. So there's the Lab Gamedev website, which is labgamedev.com. You can join the Discord there if you want to. On the Discord, it's very active. We have discussions about almost everything. We have announcements, job posting happening like now almost each week. We have new jobs posting. And basically, we only do small events now. So we stopped actually doing events, and I feel everyone's saturated with online events anyway. So we'd only do the big ones like the Global Game Jam and maybe one event of our own. But we wanted to focus more on what's the next step, because now we have a lot of people and the community is kind of self-sustainable. We were focusing on two things. One, we want to support anyone in the community is doing anything, but we're not going to start any new initiative. And we were focusing on the next one, which is education. I feel, yes, there are tutorials online, but people just want someone to hold their hand from start to finish. And for that, we were looking into like having possibly a physical space. There was a lot of challenges, especially if COVID didn't help. So the plan got kind of postponed, but we started working on it either way. So I was already in touch with some people from the community and asked them to prepare some workshops. And I was preparing my own workshop. And someone from the community, I'm just going to show the organizer. Hi, Ashraf, he's in the chat, by the way. He's been helping out a lot with this event. They started with Khalid Beirut, AUB, and other people, a game dev academy online. And he reached out to us, to the community, and we, there are some people from the community who joined the workshops. I personally joined it as well to give somebody a real workshop. But this is basically their work. They did create this really interesting initiative. So it's not only workshop. They were like, what if we have a ideation camp after following that? And there's judging, and there are people who win get actual mentoring. So they're gonna pick basically the best of the people who signed up for the workshop. And they had around 250 people on the first session when I joined, attending those workshops. The Discord is super active there for that academy. And right now we just finished the workshop, so they're starting the submission process. This is the list of all the workshops they gave. So it's really covering a lot of topic from game design. Actually, Nurhan was part of this workshop. She gave the...
Yeah, it was. It was really fun, and everyone was really excited to learn. It was great experience.
Yep. And you can, if people can participate, you can find the talks, their session. They're available on the YouTube channel. Just go to Khalid Beirut Gaming Academy. You can find the Unreal Engine workshop that I've been working on as well. It's like 7 sessions. It is a good introduction. It's very quick, relatively quick. Yeah, and if you have feedback, always mention it in the comments. We're always looking way to improve it. And yeah, this is their Discord channel as well. And yeah, so just gonna stop sharing the screen now. This is very briefly like what I've been up to, and would lead me to the next questions. What have been the challenges for you guys recently, and girls? Like, I know there's 2 things. I think COVID on its own was its own challenge, but also starting the game dev community is not an easy path. And let's see how I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with Yusuf, then Ruhan, then Hussein. If you can briefly mention all your challenges. Yeah, you're muted, by the way, Yusuf.
So COVID was a huge disruption in Bahrain, to be specific. We stopped doing meetups immediately when the COVID quarantines were in order, and we did try our luck on the first times by going with online meetups via Zoom, but we found that COVID didn't actually stop us from doing online meetups. It stopped us by interrupting our lives. So instead of actually moving forward and being able to freely organize the meetup online or somewhere, you found that the other people in your lives are now free. So you need to take care of them more. And also people used this time to learn new things, to finish up whatever they've been holding back because of the busy lives that they were in. But luckily, this provided us with an opportunity to grow and to actually reevaluate everything that we've been doing. The second challenge was finding sponsorships for events. I mean, when you look at what COVID did, a lot of companies stopped sponsoring events. They focused more on online events, and even then, people were hesitant to be part of it. So I would say those would be the 2 major issues that we had. I'll leave it to you, Joseph.
Okay. Cool. Nurhan, do you want to add something to challenges?
On the contrary to us, COVID wasn't much of the challenge because pre-COVID, everyone had to travel from different parts of Egypt to Cairo to be able to physically attend some events. But ever since the COVID, it has sort of made the events accessible for everyone. Everyone was online. Everyone was eager to be part of something bigger. The major challenge that we always find ourselves stuck into is how few or little how little there are seniors in the field. When someone is trying to reach out about certain problems, let's say asking about certain business models, if he's trying to start up a small studio, usually there are little people there ready to offer help or advice because very few people have actually gone through this. So that's one of the major issues that we have in our community.
Okay, Hussein?
So I will do it quickly. There is 2 challenges for us in Tunisia. The first one is education, and the second one is investment. And I think here we are talking about the egg and the chicken. Who comes before? Because if you don't have like a curriculum in for game development and programming in universities, you as a studio you can't recruit people, and you will struggle with that. The second stuff, which is investment, how should I make investment if I can't scale my company? This is the investment and education. But the investment itself, we are looking for investment, especially for game developers, for other IT fields, fintech or whatever, e-commerce, etc. They can find investment easily. But for us as game developers, it's hard to convince the investors and to let them know that we can generate more money with the game development.
Okay. So I just want to add very quickly, like one of the things is COVID, and of course it has its challenges, but also it has its own opportunities. So because everything became online, conferences became online, and before when we had discussions about creating a conference, and that was too expensive for communities to do. But because everything else is online, we're a bit on the same level as big conferences who are trying to move online. And I was actually looking at number of attendees and everything, and even the cost. It is actually much more cost efficient for communities to do stuff online. We launched the Arabic Games Conference, and that cost us less than $1,000, I think, to organize the whole event. Of course, there are community team members contributing their time, which in big conferences they can't. They have high salaries. It's a very high cost for this. So I feel, and this is how we managed to do Arabic Games. We want to do it, of course, this year again. And so that was a nice opportunity. But at the same time, because it's very easy to do a lot of conferences, there's fatigue with conferences as well, because now every week there's 2 conferences happening. So there's this challenge. Second thing, I think the most important one, and Lebanon is suffering right now a bit with the current situation, is brain drain. Like, imagine investing a lot in a lot of initiative, everything, and then the country becomes really not great conditions to live. And all those developers, once they're qualified, they're going to look for those best studios. We had it a lot of times where we had really good developers. They reached the level of like, I'm really good. And then they apply for a company abroad. And of course, they don't want to leave, but this is basically how it's going to happen for a while. And I think that's the main challenge, even in the region. Everything else is still, you can find workarounds, but I think like that's the main issue there. So anyway, I wanted to ask you guys 2 things. One, what is the plans in the near future? Like, what can people watching the stream can be excited to like? And I know also about the events, but not like for one community. So anyone from a different community can still participate. It's not like the Lebanese game developer event is locked to Lebanese people. Anyone's welcome to join. And I know, for example, Yusuf, you mentioned Unreal Bahrain at some point, the jam basically that was open for the whole region. And yeah, can you talk about your future initiative, whether they're for your country or open to everyone, and at least one thing for people to look up for?
So most of our initiatives are open to anyone. We don't have any type of limitations in terms of who can participate. But I'm really interested to show you guys a roadmap for the remainder of 2021. So I mentioned earlier that we took time to plan what we want to do moving forward. So we started organizing our meetups way ahead of time. Okay, understanding what do we need, what do we want down the line. In collaboration with partners, other communities such as you and the Game Zenga organizers, we have it within our roadmap that, okay, this month, these game jams are going to happen. So we can easily organize for it, and we don't overlap in our events. Other things, we also, we have our AWS Game Tech MENA event. We also have an event with the BTW guys, Build the World guys. If you're not familiar with them, they develop, they basically design real life places in Minecraft. There's also an event that we're doing here in Bahrain in partnership with one of our partners, and it's entirely gaming themed. In November, we have the Paris to Manama event, which is basically people coming in and contracting and basically doing deals with French companies and Bahraini companies, or even regional companies. That's open to anyone, and that's a virtual event. We are organizing our monthly challenges. So basically, pet peeves, remakes, Booktober. Every challenge is going to be given out by someone. We nominate someone to give the challenge, and then we receive their entries. We do have a plan where we take breaks because we know that we will be overstressed and we cannot manage that. So building a roadmap and having it visualized helped us a lot. We're starting off game nights every weekend. It's basically us playing. Down the line, we're going to change this into a charity event where we're playing and we're just getting donations for charity. We're developing the Bridges program, which is what Arabic Games is trying to do. But we're doing this in collaboration. The Bridges program is basically connecting game development communities and gaming interested communities. So we have in Bahrain, we already have tabletop games are already on board on this. Guys in Saudi, the guys in UAE. Basically, the network is interested to this to be part of it, and we'll organize monthly meetups where we can actually share our experiences and coordinate with each other. We're also building a community mobile app to help facilitate our communication and at the same time reduce the stress that we're doing in terms of managing our members. So, and we're gonna do like quarterly updates for the application from time to time. So that's the roadmap. And there are other initiatives like Project 64, where we're trying to get 64 games developed each year. Where we do have the loaner program, where we started accepting donations for laptops, game devices, even software, and we lend them off to developers that are in need of these devices for a period of 3 months, and then they can renew. Okay.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, Nurhan, would you maybe want to talk?
Mainly, we're trying just to maintain the current status quo by keeping on the monthly art jams, the AMA panels, and we have also organized this year for the first time. Egypt Game Developers has organized the Global Game Jam and an art jam called the Mega Art Jam. So we're trying to maintain the current state of keeping this as relevant to the community and yearly events that everyone can look forward to.
Okay, Hossein?
Yes, so for us, it's focusing on creating a curriculum for game programming. So we help the universities to do that. Also organizing well the startup ecosystem in Tunisia and push forward the existing game dev studios. Also, the most important thing for us is to prove to local investors that they did the right choice to invest in game dev studios by generating more money and help the studios to generate more money. Also, we will continue the initiative that we started last year with the Lebanese game developers, which is Arabic Game Conference. Maybe Joseph, you will talk more about that.
Yeah, so I'll talk very quickly. So also answer some people questions. One person said, can I see the community video? And I can say, if you go to Arabic.games, there's a link to every community because we're trying to highlight all the communities there. So just go there, you're going to find a link to them. You go to their social media platform, you're going to find it. For example, Egypt Games, their video is on YouTube. Bahrain is probably on YouTube as well. I'm on YouTube. I'm not sure. Hossein, is your video as well on YouTube?
Not yet.
It's on Facebook, though.
Maybe.
Yeah, and yeah, you can find there the community. They were also played during the event, so you can find the previous stream there and you can find it. Hello, someone asked also, why don't we create one big community for the region? And I think that is the plan for Arabic Games. Possibly there's also other communities here that are trying to expand as well. So there's multiple initiatives towards that. And yes, that is definitely the plan. I feel like we should be collaborating because the region is still like a bit behind, and the way to accelerate it is to all collaborate and just create this one big open community. Yeah, so that's the thing. So my plan for the future is more expand on Arabic Games. I don't want it to just be a conference. I wanted for it to have a lot of more complete initiative. So rather than just an event that happens once a year. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining the community panel.
Thank you.
We went a bit over time. Thank you, David, for letting us use a few minutes for your presentation. I'm really sorry. Yeah, and that's it. Bye.
يعطيك العافية جوزيف.
Thank you.
Amazing job.
Bye.